Hi everyone, welcome back to the experiments of trying to make your own metal dies at home. So if you don't know, I'm trying to make some hot foil dies because I've got a hot foil press now. Getting them made by suppliers is quite expensive. You get charged per square centimetre, so if you've got a big design it can be very, very expensive. They often use CNC or they use chemical etching to do it. Now I'm going to be trying to do it at home with chemical etching, and I've just got hold of this etching ground. Now this is the big etching ground. This is pretty cool. This is non-toxic. I'm not sure what it's made of. There's no like list of ingredients, but I'm assured by the non-toxic printmaking community that this is one of the best grounds to be using if you are trying to go the non-toxic route, which if you're doing it at home you really should be trying to go that way. Now this is made by a guy in Wales, Andrew. If you haven't gone to his YouTube channel, I highly recommend it. He's got lots of really good tutorials on etching and printmaking, specifically using non-toxic materials, so obviously it's really good for this kind of stuff. Now I did email him and I asked, can you screen print with this? Because I've been trying to think of a way of transferring my design onto the ground that's going to be placed on the metal plate. And he said that you can screen print it if you mix it with some lavender oil. I think I've got some lavender oil at home. If not, I'm going to be using just some screen printing medium just to kind of make this a little bit easier to work. But I've still got my old screen that has got the grid design that I'm trying to put on here. What we're going to do is we're going to screen print this etching ground onto the metal plate, and then we're going to cook it in the oven because it needs 6 minutes in the oven. So we'll bake the etching ground to make it a hard ground, and hopefully it should hold up in a copper sulfate bath, or a mordant I think is what it's called, and we'll see if we can etch the design. This is going to be really cool if this works, because I've been trying to do this for different ways and it'd be really cool if I could use this non-toxic approach. I'm just going to quickly work on the metal plate. It's an aluminium plate. I just need to sand it down, make sure it's all nice and smooth. I'm going to degrease it, and then we can apply this onto it through the screen. Let's give it a go. I'm going to be using some organic tamari. It's pretty much the same as soy sauce. Hopefully it should do. You should really use whiting as well, but I don't have any at the moment, so I'm just going to try and degrease it with some soy sauce. I don't think we're going to need a lot of this. All I'm doing is I'm just going to mix up some of the ground. I've got the plate here, and I'm just literally just going to lay my screen on top and just give it a print. So let's put some screen printing medium in it. Maybe a bit too much. Yeah, it seems like it will print okay. I mean, I've got a pretty coarse mesh here. I think this is a 43T mesh, often used for doing t-shirts with Plastisol inks. Plastisol inks probably have about the same kind of viscosity as this does, so I think that is okay. Okay, let's see what that does. Brilliant. So that works actually pretty well. For a test, I think that will be pretty good. I'm really excited about etching this. So what we're going to do now is we'll put it in the oven for 6 minutes. We'll let it dry, and then we're going to dip it in the copper sulfate solution, and let's see if we can get an etch. Okay, so we've got the design on there. It's dried, and I've just sellotaped the back of it. And now we're just going to dunk it into the solution. Okay, so we've left it in there for quite a long time now. It's been a good number of hours. I think that my etching bath I think the strength of it has really gone down because I've already done a test etching there before, so it wasn't a fresh a fresh bath. I've just kind of dipped it in water just to wash it off, and it really doesn't look like there's much of an etch. You can see that there is some sort of a depth that's been achieved, but I don't think we've really kind of eaten that much into the plate. We're at 3.3. Yeah, it's really starting to kind of slow down there. On some sides it's only 3.5. So we've only etched about half of a mil. You can see that the actual original plate was a 4mm plate. So here we're only 3.69. So yeah, I think that it's going to need a fresh copper sulfate bath. So I'm going to make up a new batch, and then I'm going to dip it in here for maybe another few hours and just try to get as deep as I can of an etch on this graphic here. Okay, so whenever you are dealing with these chemicals, this is copper sulfate. Well, obviously make sure you are wearing gloves. I'm going to put a mask on. I've also got eye protection on. You know, this can cause a little bit of dust when you are pouring it, so you don't want to be breathing it in. So just, you know, take the necessary precautions. What we're going to do is we're just going to make a copper sulfate solution. This is going to be 100 grams of copper sulfate. I'm going to get 100 grams of sodium chloride, which is just normal salt, and then 1 litre of water. I might actually just use half a litre just to make it that little bit stronger, because I really do want to get a deep etch. Okay, I'm not sure if you could see that in the video, but it was a pretty good example. As I was pouring in the water, you could see a lot of dust was coming up as I was pouring it in, so thankfully I had my mask on. Also, just make sure that you are doing it in a ventilated area. When you do use the etching, when you do put the metal into it, I believe it does release hydrogen. When you're doing something this size, it's going to be a pretty small amount of gas that's given off. But you should always be doing it in a ventilated space. You don't want to build up of hydrogen. Obviously it is very, very volatile. So now all we're doing is I'm just going to give it just 5 minutes just to let the salt dissolve a little bit into the solution. You can see that it's not really dissolved at the moment. And just try and work it in there. Just a quick note, if anyone's got a 3D printer, these are really, really cool. This is a 3D printed pair of tweezers. You can see they automatically close because they're on kind of like a spring action. I'll put the link in the video description. It took me 40 minutes to print it off, and they really do a good job when you are kind of like picking up things and, you know, obviously help you not getting your fingers wet. Something as well that I'm going to do before I dip it in is I'm just going to replace the back to protect the back side of this plate. Now usually you would put a ground on the back just to protect it, and you'd also put it on the sides as well to make sure that obviously you don't etch the back and the side of it, because you just want to etch the front plate. I haven't bothered putting a ground on it just for this experiment. I'm just covering it with sellotape. It doesn't hold up very well, especially when you are doing etchings for, you know, deep etchings for a long amount of time like I am. It does start to peel away, and you can see that it has actually etched the back of this a little bit. What I've found is really, really good is Gorilla Tape. This stuff really does hold up really well. This is just an experiment, so I'm just going to be coating it in sellotape in the back. Okay, so it's ready to put it in. So you should see it start to bubble straight away, and yeah, you can just see some bubbling here. So you can see the hydrogen that's coming off it here. You can just see this gas. I'm not sure if you can see that. I mean, you know, you can hear the fizzing and the bubbling. So what you want to be doing as well is you just want to be removing the excess. I believe this is copper ions. And you can just see it's like a brown, so this is the actual copper. And you just need to brush it away, because obviously a build-up, the mordant isn't going to be able to get to that fresh metal to etch it away. So you just want to do it every single, maybe 5 to 10 minutes. So we're just going to leave this now, and we'll come back to it, remove any excess, and we'll see how deep we can get. You can see that the colour has changed. I mean, let me just zoom out a bit here. It's gone from a very kind of aqua blue to, you know, to almost like a dark green now. Okay, you can see that this is really cooking now. The ground is really holding up very well. We're just going to keep on etching it, and I think that this is really starting to come away now. So this is also kind of adding to the amount of why we've got such a strong reaction, because there's quite a lot of metal that is in contact with this mordant. A quick measure just to see whereabouts we are. Okay, so that's nearly down to 1 mil. So it's been in there for probably about an hour now. The ground has actually started to come away as well, so I'm going to stop this etch, but it looks like we've got a pretty decent depth of an etch here. Next we're just going to wash it in water just to wash off all of this residue, and then we will work on actually getting off this ground. It's been in there for about 2 minutes now, and you can see that it's literally just rubbing off with my finger. So obviously the ground hasn't held up too well. We've lost some of the definition, but I mean that's not too bad for a first attempt. I mean, I think I could foil that. We're going to try and see what it comes out like. Obviously I need this to be exact because it's going to be kind of working with a piece of artwork, but I mean, you know, if you were to do maybe something a little bit more experimental, you could actually get some interesting patterns and textures from where the ground is actually kind of wearing away during the etching process. I mean, that itself actually looks like a pretty interesting pattern that's happened here. Okay, so I've got a strip of Diabond tape here, and this is a special adhesive that you use for attaching the metal plate to the press. So you just cut off a few squares. I might just use 2 because I'm literally just going to be printing it once, but obviously if you've got a bigger piece, you know, you want to put more down, but that's all we really need for this. So this is heated up to 135 now. I'm not sure, because this plate isn't actually perfectly level, I'm not sure if it's actually going to stick. I think it might be a little bit warped, you can see here, because it's actually been etched on the back of it. So I'm just pressing it in to make sure it makes a nice good contact with the plate. Hopefully it will flatten it out as well. So let's give this a press. Okay, it does work, but you can see it's not etched deep enough here. I'm actually kind of glad this happened, because I was thinking about testing what kind of textures you could get when you do just simply etch a plate, not even with any graphic on it. If you just etch just the actual texture that you get from the chemical reaction, and you actually get a really cool, interesting texture here. The actual graphic has come out okay, but it needs some work. So let's try a little less pressure, see if we can get... It's coming out pretty good, but as you can see, it's picking up the texture still. But I just love the look of it. It just looks so cool. I think this has been a partial success. I think that it's shown that, first of all, you can screen print a ground like the big etching ground, which is really cool, because for maybe more simpler designs, it is possible to do it. And obviously this is quite an extreme use of the etching ground, because I'm trying to etch really deep. When you're just doing, you know, normal etching stuff, you're etching for, you know, 5 to 10 minutes. You're really just looking to get some sort of relief into the plate. It doesn't need to be nowhere near as deep if you're doing hot foil stamping. I think that I need to experiment maybe with a different etching ground, maybe I need to experiment with building up the layers of the ground, so I'm going to try that next. The results are really exciting because I can actually see my design coming out on the paper. So I know that the foil press works, the foil looks really, really good, and the texture that I got from the open bite of this plate is really, really interesting. So there's definitely lots of possibilities here. Lots more experimentation is needed. But that is it for today. I will end it there. If you've got any questions about the process, feel free to put it into the comment section. Remember to like and subscribe. It's really, really great that we've got, I think, nearly 1,400 subscribers now. Thank you everyone for all of the comments that you've been putting on the videos. It's really great to see that people are actually getting some sort of use out of it and they're enjoying the content, which is always good to see. That is it for today. I will end it there.